Hello. Finally, I'm settled to make another video, and I am making another astronaut with Silly Sands Dough Pate banana flavor made by Crayola. I got it at the Dollar Tree store, but it's no longer $1. They are now all $1.25, but that's okay. Joe Biden made it go up in price because of inflation. It's inflating. This is inflating all of this here. Okay. Very nice. Banana flavored astronaut. Doesn't smell very strongly. That's not a very strong banana scent. Little bit. It's made with wheat. All of these Play-Dohs are made with wheat, actually, and then they put artificial colors in it. It's actually an actual dough. I wonder if you can eat it. You probably could, if you have nothing else to eat. I shouldn't be laughing about this because times are getting rough now with Joe Biden. Yes. If you let a retarded man become president, that is the result of it. Okay? That's all I can say to this subject. But I'm feeling better today. Okay. I'm at my dream house again, where we don't have internet. And I'm glad we don't have internet here, because if we had internet here, we would get nothing done, like absolutely nothing done. Absolutely, totally nothing. So at least now I can, besides making a banana astronaut, I get things packed up, I get things cleaned out, shelves cleaned out. We already did a lot of work here on this house, a lot. It's nice and soft, I like it. That's really nice, feels good. Yes, I cut my hair too short, but it's gonna grow longer again. It doesn't grow very fast. My hair's brittle. If I shake my head, I see these tiny little split hair ends just falling off, just like that. Like confetti around my face. Stuck to my eyelids and so on. I don't mind dog hairs stuck to my eyelids, but if I see my own split hair ends, that gets me worrying. You gotta laugh about all of these things. It's not that serious. Have some fun with it. At least my hair is not falling out. I'm really grateful for that. So some people have hair loss. That's really serious. But there's a reason for it. There's an underlying cause, obviously. Hair loss is caused by severe psychological stress. This is not funny at all. I had a friend, she was going through Unbelievable psychological stress. A woman with the most beautiful, the most gorgeous mane there is, like a horse mane. And her hair started to fall out, and she got really alarmed. She was already talking about wigs and stuff like this. She said, if my hair falls out, I'm gonna have to get a wig. But she never did have to worry about this ultimately, but for a while she was having severe stress, going through breakups, and oh, there's the Federal Express van. Federal Express van is here. He can't even hear me, even though he sits right across from me. So that was only, I don't know, that lasted about a couple of months, that phase for her, like 8 months or something, was that breakup phase. But later on she got back together with her longtime life partner. But during that time her hair was falling out because of that severe psychological stress. So I felt really bad for her. At that time I was really stupid, and we were extremely young. We were in our very early 20s, and I probably said a bunch of wrong stuff, and I feel sorry. Thank you. Oh. Sleep. Yay! The clay came. Clay! Not this clay. A different clay. A pharmaceutical grade sodium bentonite montmorillonite came from Lone Star clays. So we're gonna try this. He's gonna try it too now. I'm so glad. He needs to take 2 tablespoons of hydrated montmorillonite clay every day, but he would not even take a teaspoon. He thinks that might kill him. No, that cannot. What's killer is taking pharmaceutical drugs. He doesn't think about any of these consequences of it. People got all of that completely twisted inside out and upside down. But that's what the pharmaceutical industry is aiming at. They are aiming at twisting the facts inside out and upside down. Okay, that's what they're doing. They want the public to be afraid of clays. That's why I think the only reason why they even have this California warning, like when you buy something, or the reason why this warning got adopted so quickly, is because the pharmaceutical industry makes use of that to scare people away from clays or from diatomaceous earth. And they will say, see, this is a warning that says there's aluminum in, there's a certain amount of lead in it, or whatever, Strontium 90, I don't know, probably not. But here's the thing, here's the fact, okay? Sodium bentonite clay, montmorillonite clay, and all smectite group clays that are out there called smectite groups. These clays are highly adhesive, highly adsorbent and absorbent. Okay. So it adsorbs like this, and then sticks to it molecularly, okay, magnetically, and then it does this here. It engulfs it and absorbs it and embeds it into its own chemical structure. molecular structure. It's a big molecule, really big molecule. Big molecule. And when you saturate, but this process can only happen when it has first been saturated with water. So when water gets in contact with montmorillonite clay, the clay starts to become active and alive. And that's when the clay starts doing these things. It starts to attach itself with its molecular structure onto any kind of pathogen and any kind of particle in your body or on your body that should not be there. Any kind of toxin. Okay? It neutralizes everything. Even radioactive matter gets neutralized and engulfed then into its own structure and embedded into its own structure where it cannot hurt anyone anymore. It's like a large molecule that already has some certain metals in it, but these metals are part of this very large structure. And these metals, they don't come out. The natural metals that are already in the clay, in the macromolecule, they can't come out. They're not free radicals. They cannot be escaping this large molecule. Okay. Until chemists start to mess with it in a laboratory. When they start to do all kinds of things and they start to separate stuff chemically. That's when the problem occurs. Okay. You do not want to take a natural structure from nature and then start to tweak it and change its structure. Don't do it. Okay. Rudolf Steiner warned about this. Only problems happen. Problems coming out of that. Don't do it. Okay. Let every structure be in its natural form. Clays in particular, this is absolutely vital. That's how the clay functions then in its natural form. You just add water to the clay and it sucks it up and embeds the water molecules into its own molecular structure, and it starts to align itself with the water molecule, with the H2O, okay? With those water molecules, they get embedded into the clay structure, then it becomes this mold, then it becomes, or if it's like this here in a but this is already a little bit like once it's like in this form here, then it's good to make figurines out of it. It should be more muddy than this here. Okay, it should be really, really, really saturated with water and very muddy, sort of like a pudding material. And it actually creates this almost like a blob with an outer tension, like where it becomes an entity, a pudding entity. And I tell you, it is a miracle, that stuff. And that comes from Earth, and that's also outer stellar, it's extraterrestrial, all of that stuff, that comes to this planet has originally come from out of space. The whole planet has come from out of space. So, but no, it is terrestrial because, after meteorites have clumped together, forming the Earth, then the Earth didn't even have an outer crust yet. So the Earth was magma and lava, consisted basically of that enormous heat, almost like the sun. The sun is just way, way, way larger and has way more radiation, of course. So way, way, way larger, with way more centrifugal force, way more magnetism, okay, more gravity, gravitational force. That's why everything else is centrifugally whirling around the sun. Because the sun, that's in our solar system, is one center in this particular solar system. Right? This is the sun, it is the center of this particular sun's solar system. But when we speak about infinity, there's no center. Okay. When we speak about philosophy, there's no center. There is no center of me, or there's no center of you. We can use the word center in terms of, we have a community healthcare center, right, where we help people. That would be our go-to place, sort of like the sun. It will give us emotional support and emotional warmth, as the sun gives us physical warmth and life, okay, vitamin D. But philosophically, like from the wider perspective, from the sky perspective, there is no center, okay, because everything is infinity, and there's no such thing as the word everything. I'm just using it as a very misunderstandable means of language, because our language in itself is very contradictory. That's why people, when they hear philosophers talk, they will say, but wait a minute, didn't they just contradict themselves? No, because they're using our language to explain things that are way beyond our language. So there's no such thing as everything, okay? Someone that Michael Langen, I think is his name. He wrote a book, The Theory of Everything. He is a genius guy, but the problem is, and I left some notes there for him, I don't know if he would accept that. He said he would accept that if someone has something else to say about this. But Ben Goertzel and myself have debated with him, and he seemed to be snubbing us. So obviously he does not accept it when someone else says something about it. But whatever, that's the human nature. Most people don't want to accept someone else's views on it if they in any way contradict or correct someone else's establishment. So don't touch that to me. Yeah, I know. Put it in the shelf. Put it in the shelf. No. The other shelf. The other shelf. Thank you. I've OCD with that table. A little glimpse into my mental illness here. Thank you very much. Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. So the clay came, as predicted. This is awesome clay, is that? Yes. It's expensive, and that's why I want to go out there to Wyoming, if I could, or Nevada, if that clay mine is still open. And I want to dig up my own Montmorillonite. Smectite. I love that word, smectite. Smectite. Well, this here doesn't have that miraculous action, of course, in your body. This is made out of water and wheat powder, white wheat flour, stripped of nutrients and fiber, which is basically eating a cardboard powder bread. That's what it is when we eat white flour bread. You might just as well grind up some cardboard boxes and make bread out of it. So it has the same nutritional value. That's why the Russians get old, because they eat natural food, natural flour, like grains being milled in a milling windmill, okay, and not nano-nized, not ultra pulverized, just pulverized enough, milled enough to use it to make dough with it, make a bread loaf with it, put it in the oven, and eat it. Delicious, very delicious. And that is whole, okay, whole food, whole grain, not the modernized, nano-nized, separatized, isolated, chemically altered stuff that is being sold in supermarkets. Yeah. The clay is a miracle. Montmorillonite and in particular, but also there's another clay that has an even stronger function like this. I don't know if that might be maybe too strong for a body, but people are taking that too. And that one is called clinoptilolite clay. And it's called zeolite with a Z. Zeolite. And the zeolite clay that is completely just zeolite, that is like almost transparent when it soaks up with water, that's called clinoptilolite clay. That has an unbelievable adsorption and absorption process with the molecular structure once it's hydrated. So, thank you, Blue God. Two. Thank you, Blue God. Yes. And they used that, they just poured it into and over the Chernobyl power plant after that disaster. Because the Russians, they know what's good. They're very, very, very intelligent people. They don't go by some pharmaceutical propaganda. Okay, they go by what helps. So they poured that over it in order to minimize the radiation, and it did. It really did. They still had to evacuate all people from that entire area, and only scientists are allowed to go in with suits on that minimize radiation. And guess what happened? Since Chernobyl, that was in the late 80s when that happened. Since then, the animal populations have recovered. The wolf population has recovered in that area. It used to be a very populated, very developed area. The animal species that were on the brink of extinction because of human urbanization and hunting and so on, and pollution and all of that. Cars, all of that. And after the people became evacuated, that's also a popular spot for the TV program that we always used to watch called Life After People. Scenarios of what would happen to a specific area that used to be very populated once it becomes deserted, once it becomes a ghost town. Okay, so, and they show it very clearly, and I'm very grateful for that, because people need to know. Okay, so all the animal species have regained their population level. And, all of these ridiculous excuses of hunters saying, oh, we need to do something about the deer population. Oh, they all completely breed out of control and all of this. And yes, this is the truth, but the reason why the deer population in the United States, particularly at the East Coast, the reason why they're exploding is because of urbanization. They have exterminated and chased away the predator animals. There are no more wolves at the East Coast, New York, New Jersey. Okay. There are no more cougars, very large cats that used to live there. That would depopulate the other species, the grazing species. And they don't take the strongest male, as the hunters do. No, the animals take the ones that are suffering, that are old, that are sick, that are limping behind the herd. And they mercifully help them to transition out of their spacesuit, as I always say, So that's not the case with the hunters. They take the strongest animal. The animal herd loses the structure of security when the alpha animal has been shot. Okay. This also happens with the wolves. This is real serious. When Barack Obama started that, he hired a person with conflict of interest to the Department of Agriculture, Ken Salazar, and he started to have the wolves in Yellowstone rounded up and shot from helicopters. Healthy, strong wolves. Then the wolf herd lost their leaders, lost their protectors, and they had to rearrange themselves, and it was very, very difficult, and they had fights among each other. And the leader of the wolf pack would normally be functioning like someone like Donald Trump, who would create peace in the group, like a big daddy who would create peace in the group, who would make things well, where everyone feels safe and protected. But Ken Salazar had the wolves shot from airplanes and helicopters. It's an atrocity, which caused the wolf species to dwindle down and go back on the endangered species list on that level. It's really horrific. Barack Obama didn't care at all about animals. Completely detached. He cared about money. He got a lot of bribe money given to him for hiring these people with conflict of interest, vested interest, corporate interest into the government. That was not the only thing he did. He also hired the CEO of Monsanto as for, I forgot now which area that was, but the area of Department of Health or something like, or Department of Agriculture, I forgot now, but department that oversees certain chemicals being administered and allowed and accepted and even pushed through the government and into different institutions even. It got so far that even the local environmental group, which they're not even doing environmental work because of the grant writer, who was basically the string holder of that group. That's why Paul and I left, because she would take the money, the grant money from the government, and then use the pesticides, which is an atrocity. That's anti-environmental work, what she did. But she was also an alcoholic. And she spilled a whole wine bottle over her computer, ruined it. And during these processes of being intoxicated, one time she accidentally sent the entire community's email list to everyone. And I thought, oh, thank you. I'm going to use that. And so that was my opportunity to inform the community of what she was doing with Monsanto's pesticides, what she was planning on doing. And I got it stopped in the nick of time. Oh my gosh. My goodness. My gosh. But then we left, and then I wasn't informed about what continued from then on with what else she would do. I was no longer able to look over her shoulder after that. But, I can't be, that's not my job to be constantly looking over other people's shoulders. I need other people to help with that as well. So we all should be constantly be very vigilant and look over other people's shoulders, just to make sure that, not even insinuating anything, but just to make sure that things are going right. Okay, you do that with your own children, you have to do it with adults as well. That's the right thing to do. That's the ethical thing to do, to prevent disasters from happening. Okay, very important. I haven't even started with the astronaut, but I want to do that now. So it's kind of warm today. I'm very surprised. I'm sitting here in shorts. It's over 70 degrees. That's pretty neat. It's towards the end of October. It's pretty neat. So the weather always shifts back and forth all the time. So I'm grateful for the clay, that is a present. That's intelligent. That's an entity. Okay, and that was formed through magma, lava, and ocean water. Okay, when the lava flowed out into the ocean, and lava ashes that were coming down, falling down into the ocean, mixed with the ocean water, it created this amazing primordial soup. And that primordial soup then became consolidated, started to form a mud, started to become a thicker material, started to become compressed in between layers of other sedimentations. The Earth's crust consists of sedimentation layers over sedimentation layers, over and over and over and over and over and over. And sometimes when the Earth's crust gets pushed through those continental plates that sometimes through earthquakes can push against each other, they can be in time pushing earth layers that that were originally together like this, crack them and push them up like that, like this. That's how mountain ranges were formed. And then geologists can go there and they can see, different sedimentation layers. And then they can carbon date those and find out how old they are and when they were formed and what they consist of, what kind of chemical structure it has. So there's a whole lot of amazing sedimentation layer materials in the Earth's crust that are very healing, that are very, very amazing to use, to detoxify, to mineralize the body. We live on those minerals. We consist of those minerals partly, okay, with water and with amino acids and so on. Our body depends on those minerals, okay. So what's happening is, and I want to get into this in a moment, that story by Clemens Kubi, a German former Green Party member who is a filmmaker, who has been a filmmaker for a very long time. I read his book, On the Way into the Next Dimension. Great book, very, very uplifting, very interesting, very empowering, and very holistic, for holistic healing approaches. So, but before I get into this, what's happening with food production, and I guess it started somewhere around the really dark ages of the middle of the 1900s. Around 1950, that's when pesticides started to be widely used. That caused the C word, I don't want to say it, testicular, breast, and so on. You know what I'm talking about. That's when that started to exponentialize. That's when the rate of that increased drastically. It has since 1950. The C word rate, for those people who don't know what I'm talking about, the cancer rate. Okay, I hate to use that word, but I have to educate the public. Cancer rate has gone up by over 400%. Okay, so, no, that's not something that pertains to old age. It affects babies. It affects all kinds of species, even plant species. It causes environmental devastation. That's what pesticides do. Okay. And that's a fact. Okay. I wrote a large article on the dangers of pesticides. It's out there on the internet. If you want the article, I can get it for you. Okay, I have done months and months of research that I put in. I would say I've worked on that for 8 months, and then even after that added more stuff that I found to put into this article. My friend Donna published it in her newspaper, which I'm grateful for. So, and it's out there on WordPress, it's on Blogger, so I can find it, I can get you the link if you want to read it. It's very important that people get informed. This stuff is definitely withheld from the public because the pesticide lobby wants to make money. They don't want people to be informed about this. That's why they cling with hands and feet to the market perpetuation of those products. Okay, even though Roundup glyphosate is outlawed in Europe for a reason. Okay, still on the market in the United States. because of the pesticide lobby. Okay, doing that on cost of living beings, on cost of our ecosystem that they all are part of it. They cut their own ecosystem down that they live in. That's how narrow-minded, that's how short-sighted these people are, okay, with the greed. Be informed about this, okay, and question these people. These things should be taken off the market immediately. They need to be disposed of safely in hazardous waste boxes. That should not be leaking into the environment. Ever. That should never be used. Okay. So, I already talked about this several times in my other videos, but it's very important to continue to talk about this, because most people don't see my videos and most people don't see my older videos, so it's important to repeat it. So there are people that say repetition is the mother of education, you know. Some people go like, oh, you keep repeating yourself. Well, for a reason, because these things are very important to consider what I say. Those are very, very elemental things that I'm talking about, and that require an instant reform. But we can't instantly reform it if the majority of people are not in agreement, if the majority of people are not on board with it. If they put money over safety, then how can a handful of people make these changes, right? Many of these people that want to make changes are being censored at best and murdered at worst. It happens all the time. Okay. So, but besides the pesticides, you know, there are two other things that play into the devastation of modern food production. Okay. Then the next horrible thing is the sewage plants that basically continually for over 100 years, since sewage plants and the infrastructure or the civilization in quotation mark had taken over. People think it's a good thing. No, it's not. Okay. So it started around, I would say, in the very late 1800s. That's when so-called modern industrialization started to happen, you know. Well, also with all kinds of industrialization that has caused absolute horror in the world. The steam engine and all kinds of things that gave corporatists a means to completely exploit the planet, not foreseeing at all what the consequences of all of these things are, machines and so on. The only good thing that came out of the motor engine is that they weren't using horses and they weren't exploiting horses to that degree anymore. I mean, the horses got a break. Okay, so they used the horsepower from machines instead. And that was the one good thing. Okay, but obviously, as we can see now, oil has caused tremendous pollution. Okay, the oil derivative, the benzoates, the hexanes, all of these, the petroleum products that came out of the raw oil processing plants, okay, that have caused unbelievable pollution and devastation. And also drilling itself is unbelievably devastating for the planet, for the oceans, and for all kinds of precious environments. And that's why we need to shut those down. Okay. Thank you, Blue God. I got approval from the animals. 4444. Yeah, thank you. This is not a coincidence. Okay. Those numbers appearing on my screen are not a coincidence. This is directly in sync with the infinite, what's happening. And they give me a lot of encouragement. Okay. They're the ones, these signs from the infinite, from the Blue God, patting me on the shoulder, give me the encouragement to continue to do what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is I am giving you the message of truth. I'm a messenger of truth. That doesn't make me important. I'm just a messenger of it. Okay, so don't mix these things up. Don't fall into those pitfalls. Nobody is important. We're all precious, but we're not important in terms of self-center or whatever. There's no center. I'm not a center. I'm just one other person. That's all. And so are you, and so are all the gurus out there that feel like they are some kind of center of attention. They're just another person. If they have a good message, good, then that's good. I praise them for that. But they often don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even have a very concrete message. And that's when I know it is all about the ego, the self. So pay attention to all of this, okay? Don't attribute any kind of rank to anyone. Nobody is on a higher rank than the other. We're all on eye level. Everyone has something to give. Everyone has something to contribute. If you are in tune with the infinite, if you meditate, you have something to give. Whatever it may be. Okay. It might be that you quit your drugs and alcohol and then you tell other people how you did it. That would be a major contribution. And if everyone did that, we can make the world a better place. Or if you have been an ex-bully, okay, and you suddenly see the entire picture from the wider perspective, and you see what that does, how much suffering that causes, how much you have been involved in making others suffer. And you quit that bullying because you completely get it from the bottom up. You don't do it anymore. Okay? Then you can talk to other people about it. You can tell the other bullies that are still doing it. Don't do it anymore. Don't bully anyone. And if they call you Karen, then say, yeah, I'm a Karen. I care. Tell them that you care. Don't be around toxic people. They're not ready yet. Surround yourself with those people that are supportive of you for going onto the holistic healing journey. And I am 100,000,000,000%, okay, in support of you going on the holistic healing path. Okay, do it. We can help each other. I can give you encouragement. I can give you a lot of love. Unconditional love. But don't do it for getting anything. Do it for making the world a better place. Do this for your own body. Okay. But yeah, the sewage plants, the infrastructure, they have gradually taken for over 100 years, taken away the nutrients from the land. Because the nutrients are that we eat the plants. The poop that comes out of us is full of nutrients, right? The poop needs to be processed by earthworms. But instead of that, they pump all of that into sewage facilities, where the stuff gets somewhat processed, not even very good. The wastewater goes into the ocean, which is an atrocity. It causes ocean animals to become sick. Okay? Corruption, lots of corruption going in there. With water, wastewater purity levels, very, very poor. We have toured the sewer system. We know what, we have seen it on the inside. We know what's happening. We've seen the politics on the inside. Paul and I were among the few people that stood up for a reform on that. But it's like a handful of people going against the Goliaths of the corporate agenda when everyone has their price. How do you move against it? But you have to try anyway. You have to try. You have no other choice. So, and that's also, for me, that's the meaning of my existence. You know, what would be the meaning if I didn't at least put my all effort into my activism? I have to do it because I care. Once you know something, and you should be informed, then you have a responsibility. You have to act on it. You have to become an activist. Yes, that beautiful baby dog. Yes, oh. So, yeah, they have taken away the nutrients from the food plants through this 100-year process of pumping our wastewater, our sewage, into sewage facility treatment centers. My goodness. The sewage should go into compost bins with holes in it. I talked about it before. It's very important. You have to let the scavenger animals, and particularly the earthworms, go to work and recycle that stuff safely in that bin, okay, with a bunch of other layers of already decomposed other stuff, material, so that there's no smell coming out. And you have to irrigate it with water. So the more water, the better. The earthworms need water, and they need all of this to become a very, very important nutrient-rich sludge for them. They eat it, they poop out black, healthy earth potting soil. Okay, and that potting soil has everything in it that the plants need, and the plants will take the nutrients from that and give those nutrients to us to eat again. It is the biodynamic, healthy life cycle, and that's what is necessary. Okay, very necessary. I think I make the astronaut in my next video. I'm too focused on what I'm talking about right now. I'm using this as some kind of focus and brain clarifying action. Like a peacemaker for my brain, like a stress reducer. A lot of Japanese use these kind of things, stress reducers, to focus better, so that the brain is not all over the place. When you think about something, emotions come up with that. So if I do this, then my brain is not as occupied with the stress factor, and then I can think more clearly about what I want to convey to the public. So that's major. These are major problems with civilizations. Pesticides, pollutions, all kinds of pollutants, raw air industry pollutants, petrochemical, those pesticides those are derivatives from the oil industry, and dangerous, very dangerous stuff that comes out of that should not be in the environment. that, then the soil depletion, the sewage treatment centers that are taking the nutrients out of our food plants on a massive scale. Okay, very dangerous. That's why we do composting. And then also, what I wanted to mention at last, to get to the story of Clemens Kubi, they started to even take away the fiber from the food. They started to make white bread, probably started all started in around the 1950s, this kind of stuff. They started to separate it, the fiber away from the flour. So you get white flour that's as good as nutrient rich as cardboard, which has basically almost no nutrients in it. So white flour has almost no nutrients, no fiber. It's not good for us. Then they started to isolate away the nutrients from the sugar molecules. So they created white sugar, white flour, white sugar, white salt, stripped off their original nutrients and minerals and all of that. What happens then is, when you eat that kind of stuff, is those substances like white sugar, white flour, white salt, they will, because there's always this osmotic action happen with everything in the world, with all matter. They want to, those molecules, they will seek out in your body the nutrients that are in your body. So they will actually leach away the nutrients, the rest of the nutrients you even have, and draw them out of your body, because they want to realign with the nutrients. But when that happens in your body, they take away your nutrients in your body. So those are like nutrient chelators that are very dangerous. Not good chelators. Okay, so very sad, all of this. And that brings me to the story of Clemens Kubi. Video is long as usual. Clemens Kubi told his story, what happened. Long story, I don't want to make it too long. He fell off the roof. He was working for his mother-in-law, and he felt exploited by them. He was doing a lot of work for them, handiwork. That's an intellectual. He should be making videos instead, So he fell off the roof, several stories down, onto the parking area, cemented. He fell on his back. His spinal cord was snapped. He fell also onto something, a splinter that got into his spinal cord that severed the nerves. He was from the neck down paralyzed. They brought him to the hospital in wind and rain and lightning. He thought the helicopter was going to crash. It was very, very traumatic. He ended up in a clinic for people that are specialized in neurology, with quadriplegics, with people that are completely from the neck down paralyzed. A horrible, horrible nightmare. Okay, they have to turn these people around on the bed that they're in. The whole bed has to be turned over several times, because otherwise they would be in so much pain from nerve endings pressing together. Real horrific. Just the thought of it makes me get breathing problems. So he told all about it, and the doctor's prognosis was that he will never be able to move his arms and legs again, that he will be paralyzed forever until he dies. And because he's already traveled around the world and he has seen things, okay? He's seen other cultures, and he already knew, no, I'm not going to accept that diagnosis. I'm not going to do it. So he had a dream in that hospital. Our unconscious talks to us. We need to listen to that a lot. And in that dream, some person came to him and said, you need to travel to the land on this planet, find out where it is. It's like a riddle. You need to travel to the land where there is no white flour and white sugar and white salt. He wakes up, his friend who has been working with him on making documentary films in the past for TVs, and he was very famous. And those two, that Clemens Kubi was very, very known for very, very amazing documentary films, also about Tibet and so on. And so he says to his friend, I had this dream. Someone says, you need to find out where the land is, where they don't have white sugar, white flour, and white bread. At least not yet at this time. At that time, that was somewhere during the 80s. Today, we have melting pot all around the globe, and bad stuff enter into the most remotest places on Earth, the most remote places on Earth. So he said, so we need to find the land where they don't have white sugar and white bread. He sent his friend out to research that. In the 80s, they didn't even have the internet yet. But his friend went to work, he went to universities, went to libraries, he studied this, and he came back and he said, yes, I found out where that land is, and we have to go there when you recover. And that land is called Ladakh, Tibet. Okay. And at that time, at least, they were very isolated out in the Himalayan mountain ranges. And not very many people got there. And also Ladakh is some kind of temple country, or was, where they would not even allow a stranger to come in. So he knew he had to go there. Okay. The Dalai Lama, the current Dalai Lama, was already there. He was very young at that time. And relatively young in the early 80s. And he knew instinctively, and that motivated him to heal. He knew he had to heal, and he wanted to heal, and he knew that there's something called mind over matter. We can will ourselves to heal. We have that much power. If we believe in ourselves, if we believe in our power, if we believe in our body is a powerhouse of energy. You better believe it. Okay. You are power. Okay, believe it. You can heal everything. Everything. Okay. You can't force it, but you can will it to heal. You can give it that freedom to heal. One way to do it is to take bentonite clay that draws out the impurities, the stress factors from your body, so that your liver can work freely and the way it's supposed to work. Okay. And on an emotional level, you can eliminate the stress factors. You don't go into a chat room anymore, right? You don't go into a place where you know you're going to get bullied. Go to a place where people treat you with respect, okay? Hang out with like-minded people, with people who support you on your natural holistic healing path. So all of these things are important. You set the foundation for the healing process. That means holistic approaches on the full circle spectrum. Take the more holistic healing approaches you take, the more you give your body that foundation of healing, of recognizing what it has to do to move forward. Okay, that's what you have to do. Okay, petting animals gently, kissing a horse on the nose gently. It's on the holistic healing paths. Some people might laugh about this, but it's very serious. That's love. Okay, you need love in order to heal. It's very important. Okay, you need to cuddle with your dog, with your cat, with your horse, with your animal. Okay, you need to cuddle with your children, with your significant other, your life partner. Okay, you need to cuddle with them. If you don't have a sexual relationship, as Paul and I don't have, you can still sit together and you can give each other foot massages. Paul and I do that, okay, sometimes. You know, what matters is love, that we care about each other. That's what matters. He's my family, okay. My dog is my family. I want to eat better. Okay, I started to eat candy again. It's not good, okay? I'm addicted. It's very bad. Very, very hard to quit. Very bad addiction. Very difficult to quit. But that's why we need to make it easier to quit. So we need to drink herbal teas. We need to make vitamin drinks with cinnamon. Cinnamon is very important in the regulation of your blood sugar and your cholesterol. Very important. It's an important supplement. I take that now as a supplement every day. It tastes good too. So I also put kelp seaweed in. I put diatomaceous earth in as well. I take the montmorillonite, the sodium bentonite clay. Very important, that will make it easier to not get tempted to buy chocolate. Make it at least a little bit easier, but you also have to use willpower, of course. But you can't force yourself really with total force. You have to also give yourself time to make progress in the direction forward. You can't be beating yourself up, or you can't become like some kind of fakir or some kind of monk who does deprivation methods or something. So, maybe if you have a nervous breakdown in that moment, maybe you need the candy in that moment, which I needed yesterday really bad. But I also bought this clay, and I bought an essential oil, and that made me feel better. That gave me strength. And so essential oil is very important. Okay, so what happened next, and the video is very long. Lo and behold, Clement Scooby said, I am going to get my sensation back in my limbs. Okay. And he did. He started with his big toe. He said, I'm putting my focus into my big toe. So, and every day he practiced that, mind over matter. They had already removed the splinter from a spinal cord through surgery because that needed to come out. And now he had the spinal cord had time to fuse back together, to find the nerve endings. And believe it or not, the body does find it. Your body is intelligent. Believe it or not, but believe it, okay? Your body is highly intelligent. Nerve endings, even ligaments, find each other and reconnect. It's that amazing, okay? The body is an amazing biological machine, okay? Intelligent. So the nerve endings and the spinal cord came back together. They found each other. Even though it was badly injured, everything was blood clots, all kinds of mess. It all cleared up, it all healed up. The nerve endings found each other, docked onto each other, grew back together. The muscle grew back together, the ligaments grew back together, the spinal cord grew back together. Before the doctors knew it, what was going on inside of his body, he suddenly was able to wiggle his big toe, one of his big toes. And he told everyone, "Did you see that? My big toe is moving." And the doctors didn't want to believe it because it didn't fit their narrative. But at some point they couldn't deny it anymore because he was able to wiggle the big toe more and more and more vigorously. So they couldn't deny it. They said, "This is a miracle, this is a medical miracle, this is an aberration, this is paranormal," right? No, it's not. Okay, so then after that he was able to train his foot to move, his leg, everything came back together. His whole body. He was able to get up and say, "Thank you, bye. I'm walking out of here, uninjured," right? And he did. He did after several months it took, I guess. He was able to do it. Most people aren't able to do it. Thank you, Blue God. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yes, the Blue God says, yes, it works. Okay. It's not a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. So, very powerful guy. He was able to heal himself. Also, the first thing he knew what he had to do when he first got to the hospital, he said, "I don't want to see my mother-in-law or my wife." They were not allowed in his room. He felt exploited by them. He blamed them for what happened. So, and he just used, we can't really blame other people, but, in a roundabout way, they probably put a lot of pressure on him. And he didn't want to see him, and he had every right in the world to not see them. They were not allowed to visit him. They were really pissed. But he said, "Nope, I'm not going to see them anymore. I'm done with them." And when he got out, he found a new girlfriend. He started a new life. He got a new dog. He got a Tibetan mountain dog. And that was also the beginning of his very rigorous investigation and journey to Tibet, to Ladakh, to find out what these people are doing right, what we're doing wrong in the so-called civilization world. And that started on his documentary films with the same name, On the Way into the Next Dimension. I watched his film several times. It's amazing. It's also on YouTube. You can watch it. It's synchronized into English. You can choose either German or English. Originally made in German. Clemens Kobi is German. The film crew, the people that he went together. There's a whole group of people from Germany that went to visit the Amazon rainforest, and the shamanic healer Don Miguel, what's his name? He has an amazing name, like Don Juan Rivas Vasquez, something like this, a name like that. An amazing guy. And he followed them there. He wanted to know what they're doing. They had an ayahuasca retreat there. And that's an amazing, very, very advanced shamanistic healer. And then he went around the whole world to find out what people are doing in terms of holistic healing. And he learned a whole lot of precious stuff. And he finally went to Ladakh, Tibet. And yes, at that time, they didn't have white flour, white sugar, and white salt. They had pink Himalayan sea salt that came raw out of an earth sedimentation in its raw form. And that's the only salt I will ever touch. And even that salt, I will not put too much onto my food, onto just a little pinch of it, okay? And I'm also planning on doing a pink Himalayan raw from the sedimentation layer in the Himalayan mountain ranges. A raw foot bath. I'm gonna do that next time we go to the other house. I have it at the other house already. It's already all set up. I just have to heat up water, pour it in, let the salt dissolve, and put my feet in and soak my feet in it. That's what I'm gonna do. So, because I have a clump of that had all clumped together, I couldn't use it anymore for food, because it's completely hardened into like a big chunk that looks like my arm. So, but I'm gonna dissolve that with hot water. I'm gonna put my feet in it and use it like that. And also, you don't want to put a foot bath that has high concentration of salt. You don't want to put that into a compost bin, or not even on plants. You could put it onto, I don't know, put it on some kind of motor oil stain or something on the cement. That will help to dissolve it. But I wouldn't put it onto plants or onto the grass. So, because salt, it's salt after all, even though it's whole, it can be damaging to some plants. But that's the only salt I allow on my body or in my body. And of course, I will put my feet into ocean water, but I'm not gonna put ocean water into my mouth because it's polluted. So, anyway, that was the story of Clemens Kubi, and it is a testimonial of what the holistic healing path does for you, and it's the only path that we have. We have no other path. That's the only path forward, okay? That's the only path to true healing, and that's also the meaning of life, and that's the meaning of our life's journey, okay? That's why we're here. That's what makes us heal on all levels and learn and expand, okay? You guys take care. Bye-bye.